FM23 has been announced and it's coming out on November the 8th. So far, the only confirmed change to the game is the acquisition of the UEFA licenses, meaning that the Champions League, Europa Conference League and Super Cup are all licensed in the game. Over the next 2 months, Football Manager will be announcing the new features and changes to the game. But it gives us the perfect opportunity to speculate on what could be in the game and what we want to see in the game. So today, we're going to go through my wish list for FM23. I also want to do a video down the line talking about your wish list for FM23, so get down in the comment section and let me know exactly what you want to see in FM23, and the best comments will make it into a video. First on my list, my wish is that you guys will drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. I'm sorry I had to do it, but we're on the road to 60,000 subscribers. It'd be great to get there before FM23, so I've got to do it. For me, the FM22 match engine is looking more and more dated, and with games like F1 Manager coming out, which look absolutely incredible, it kind of does show that FM is a little bit behind the times. And whilst I don't think we're going to see a massive overhaul, I would love to just see some graphical improvements, something that looks a little bit more modern, a little bit more sleek, and I think there are other parts of the engine that would really help improve that as well. I think the game would actually look a lot better if they updated the stadiums and the crowd around it. The stadiums look very dated, they're all so similar, and they all just look a bit awkward and janky. There's nothing cool or unique about them. Essentially, if they just added some more stadium assets, I know they can't do much obviously in terms of making the stadiums look like the stadiums in real life because of licensing issues and things like that, but if they could just make the stadiums look a bit nicer and a little bit more realistic, that would add a whole lot of depth to the game. But actually on the pitch, I think there need to be some more animations added to the game, and to be fair, they do add more animations every single year, but it still can look a little bit clunky and janky from time to time. I would love to see more fluid movement from the players, and I'd like to see the introduction of skill moves as well. Obviously you get the rainbow flick every now and again, some chips over goalkeepers, but it would be quite nice to see a player roulette turn on the dribble to get around the player rather than just awkwardly wandering past the player, not quite sure how they've got there. The flair stat is in there for skill moves and things like that. It would be nice to see some actual skill moves in the game. Also, talking about the match engine, VAR takes far too long. It's still a nuisance to get through. It's so frustrating to sit through it for a good 10 seconds or so. Just a quick 2-second thing, it'll be fine. Oh, and goal line technology replays, they are useless because you can't actually see what's going on. I've tried to get a video of it, but I've played 10 games and not had any goal line technology involvement, so I've given up on that. But essentially, it just uses the angle that you're watching the game at. So if you're watching it on TV view, you don't actually get a view in line with the goal, which is really annoying because you can't see how close it was. I want a dedicated graphic or like TV screen, like they have an actual TV, to see how close the ball was to crossing the line. That would actually be worth a 10-second wait, I reckon. We'll stick with the match engine and tactics a little bit, but move away from actually in-game and move on to the set piece creator, which is, it's crying out for an overhaul. It's clunky, archaic, and not particularly useful in my opinion. You can sort of just set a few players to stand in certain areas, but you can't create some custom pieces like they have in real life, for example, the conga line or the Ring-a-Ring-a Rosies, which are the favourite of mine. The ability to actually place players exactly where they should be in the penalty area, tell them exactly where to run and where the corner taker has to be putting the ball every single time would be great. Create some presets, because not everyone wants to do that obviously, so create some presets like the conga line, for example, and just see how it works in game. But this area needs a huge revamp. It's also quite buggy. Sometimes as well, you can't actually have all 11 players on the pitch for whatever reason. It's so buggy, so this needs a huge overhaul. As for new things to the game, let's talk about transfers and player contracts. Now, all summer, I've heard Fabrizio Romano say, "Here we go." And actually, I'm going to say it. Here we go. I've got a good deal for you. You can get FM23 for the cheapest possible price via my affiliate link down in the description. Go to Fanatical, who are a Sega authorized retailer, and use code FM23 TomFM at checkout to get an extra 5% off, bringing the price down to £32.05, which is £4 cheaper than Steam. You get the game for cheap, and I get a bit of commission from it as well, so it's a win-win situation for all of us. Anyway, back to Fabrizio. Along with Here We Go, all I see from him is player and club have agreed personal terms, now waiting on the transfer fee to be agreed. I asked on Twitter how legal this actually is, because it doesn't quite seem right that a club can offer a contract to a player who's under contract somewhere else. It seems to be the consensus that the selling club can give permission to the buying club to discuss a contract with the player after an approach has been made in the first instance, rather than the clubs agreeing to a fee first and then going to the contract negotiations with the player. Currently in FM, you can actually go to different players' agents and ask how interested they are in signing for the club, which I guess mirrors this to an extent. but I'd like it to go further. Sometimes you can talk to a player and they are very dubious about signing for you, but if you could say to the agent, well, we'll make your player a star player, they might get a bit more interested and want to move to your club. I also think it would be really cool if you put a bid in for a player and the club say, we're going to reject this bid, but a little bit higher and we might accept. And in the meantime, you can talk to our player and discuss personal terms. I also think that would be a really useful tool to help you try and sell players and start a bidding war as other clubs decide to FOMO in bidding for a player if they think other clubs are close to signing. And sticking with player transfers to an extent, I would love the opportunity to be able to talk to my players about transfer plans and career plans. For example, in my Venezia stream save over on Twitch, I want to send my third choice left back out on loan to develop. The issue is, he rejects every single club and I can't talk to him about it. I would love to be able to actually have a meeting with him and discuss his development. I'd like to say to him, I'm not going to play you that much this season. I want you to go out on loan so you can actually play a full season of matches and develop well. I'd also like to talk to players going out on loan and say to them, for example, right, you're going to Serie B this season. If you score 10 goals, I tell you what, we'll put you in the first team next season. And that will help incentivize our players to play well, perform well, train well, and develop better whilst out on loan. I'd also like to talk to players going out on loan and say to them, for example, right, you're going to Serie B this season. If you score 10 goals, I tell you what, we'll put you in the first team next season. And that will help incentivize our players to play well, perform well, train well, and develop better whilst out on loan. We'll stick with players, and what I want to see added to a player's profile is their commercial summary. Now, my good friend and fellow content creator Jack Work for Space came up with this beautiful concept design a few years ago, and I've been obsessed with it ever since because I think it's a really solid idea. Firstly, the skin is absolutely gorgeous, but in the bottom right of the screen, you'll see a commercial summary with the number of followers, reach, and marketing income. Let me explain where this could be really useful. Imagine you're a non-league club and you need some cash. You're searching for free agents to sign and you're sorting your filters by international caps. You find a 38-year-old centre-back with 13 international caps, and they've got a ton of followers on social media. You sign them, and suddenly the added presence of a former superstar in your team with a huge social media following might bring in the extra cash from shirt sales and sponsorships that you need to climb the leagues. It might also have an influence on club cultures as well. Take, for example, Real Madrid. They only sign Galacticos, and that might also come with a criteria for a minimum number of followers or global reach. But we briefly touched on scouting just there, looking by international caps. Let's carry on talking about scouting. I would love the ability to create my own scouting presets. Now, currently in the game, there are some very basic presets. You can ask your scout to search for a general type of player. I'd like the ability to create my own presets. For example, I'm looking for a first team winger. I'll add in all the attributes that I want to find, such as 15 pace and 15 crossing, and any other conditions that I feel necessary, and I can save that as a preset. Currently, if I want to send another scout out to look for the same criteria in a different country, I'd have to do it all manually again. It would save a lot of time, and I think it would also encourage a lot of people to use scouting more frequently. And keeping in the realm of stats, let's talk about the data hub. I would love to be able to compare data to previous seasons in the data hub. As an example, last season I won the first 5 games of the season, and this season I've lost the first 5. I would love to be able to get some graphs up to compare my first 5 games from this season to the first 5 games of last season to see if we really have become terrible or the underlying stats are actually quite encouraging. For example, maybe our XG is the exact same, but we just haven't scored the goals this season. Underlying stat-wise, we're still doing okay. Trust the process. If it really is terrible, maybe then we should think about switching things up. Adding this for individual players would be really useful. And speaking of individual players, I'd like to have a little bit more context as to their ratings in the match. Why is this particular player on a 5.2 rating, and why is this player on a 9.2 without scoring or assisting? Well, I saw this screenshot doing the rounds saying that you get the context if you hover over the rating in game. That was a lie. It doesn't actually work. But why doesn't it work? This needs to be a thing in Football Manager, and I'd love to see it implemented into the next version of the game because it would be super useful. There's also a ton of small quality of life updates that we could go into, but if we did, we'd literally be here all day. So we are going to wrap this video up here, but you can keep the good times rolling with another video that's on the screen right now. Check it out.